Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. People have a very low opinion of politics, in no small part because of politicians like Andrew Cuomo, who just won't go away. There was the harassment of women and now allegations he lied about COVID. And while the media was fawning over his press conferences, he was making decisions which very well may have led to nursing home deaths. Lawmakers allege he lied. Cuomo says he's a victim. New York City's current mayor sees it all differently.
I have made it extremely clear my disappointment on what happened during COVID, the disproportionate amount of resources that went to particular communities of color. I made it clear how I felt about those who were in nursing homes. My heart goes out when you lose a loved one in a nursing home. But the investigations must take their course. And I'm not going to do to him what others did to me. I'm going to allow the investigation to take its course.
Joining us now is former federal prosecutor Katie Cherkasky. Welcome, Counselor. What exactly did Cuomo do with respect to nursing homes, and what did he say that raised concerns about his veracity?
Well, the issues with Andrew Cuomo are nothing new, and in fact, very overdue to be thoroughly looked into by law enforcement. The allegations are essentially that he both lied about the deaths that occurred in nursing homes, and he lied about the requirements to move COVID patients into those facilities. And obviously, all of this happened before Congress, and it is a federal crime to lie to Congress. So it's no surprise to most people, I think, that this is being revived because it was essentially abandoned under the Biden administration. But I think it's well overdue, and the families and those impacted certainly deserve some sort of justice.
All right, Katie, typically DOJ does not like to announce investigations during campaign seasons. On the other hand, you can't wait to investigate someone or arrest someone simply because he or she is running for office. If you were the AG, what's the right balance between not interfering with an election and not ignoring criminality?
Well, the DOJ does have a policy, allegedly, to not take substantial steps in criminal investigations leading up to an election. But that essentially went out the window with regard to President Trump when he was obviously running for office. And so what's good for the goose is good for the gander here. And there's nothing that stops the DOJ from looking into something or pursuing something further, especially in the case of Andrew Cuomo. This is a case that was referred for prosecution a long time ago, but was never acted on. And so the idea of whether they could indict him in the lead up to this election, which is in about a month from now, is a question. But certainly they can indict a sitting mayor. They just did that in New York. So I don't think that there's any practical impediments to pursuing criminal charges against Andrew Cuomo if that's what the investigation yields. But there is essentially a policy that's supposedly adhered to in some cases, but for all practical purposes was abandoned under the prior administration.
I know you have a lot of experience, Katie. I don't know whether you prosecuted or have defended 1001 or lying to Congress cases. What are the evidentiary hurdles? I didn't do those cases, but sometimes the government wins and sometimes they don't win in those cases. So what do you need to have a successful prosecution when it comes to lying to Congress? Materiality, is that the most important factor?
Well, I think one of the most important factors is really proving the intent and the knowledge of the defendant, and that's really in any criminal case. And so in this case, the idea that Andrew Cuomo can claim that he was ignorant to some of the reports that were being put forth on his behalf, there is seemingly evidence to the contrary showing his direct involvement. So if he's able to distance himself from the direct knowledge of things coming out of his office that are now being called lies, then that's going to be a problem to prove the mens rea, the criminal intent on the part of Andrew Cuomo. But that's really an issue in all prosecutions, and it can be overcome with obviously witness testimony and other evidence that is brought forth. So that's the point of the investigation, is to see what they can establish to overcome those hurdles.
All right, speaking of folks who won't go away, Jim Comey has been beach walking and then bad-mouthing current FBI Director Kash Patel. Comey says he's more comfortable with D.C. supervisors making decisions. I guess he means like Peter Strzok, Andy McCabe, James Baker, himself. I mean, is he talking about those kinds of supervisors, none of whom are still with the FBI?
James Comey really has been speaking out of turn, I guess, to say the least. And it's very disappointing. You see somebody that was holding such a high position and would think that they have some sort of professionalism about them in some respect. But obviously, the more he's in the public eye, and now with the current issues that have arisen with a potential investigation into his conduct, he certainly won't go away. But I don't think in that case that that's necessarily going to lead to criminal charges, but certainly does put a spotlight on somebody that was in such a high position, disappointingly.
He just seems obsessed with Trump and now with cash, and I don't get it. I mean, walk on the beach and think about something else. I mean, why are you thinking about Donald Trump? But Katie Cherkasky, thank you for joining us. Happy Memorial Day weekend to you and your family.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.